One man's ego now threatens to unravel a decades-old strategic partnership. US President Donald Trump's tariff assault against India has crossed all the red lines, weaponizing baseless accusations and now linking India's oil trade to the devastating war in Ukraine. But this week, the rhetoric turned even more reckless. Blame for the war, once squarely aimed at President Putin, has now been bizarrely redirected at India. Trump's former trade advisor, Peter Navarro, labeled the Russia-Ukraine conflict as Modi's war, even calling India the Kremlin's laundromat, an inflammatory and misinformed attack. Echoing the same narrative, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham accused nations trading with Russia, including India, of fueling the war machine and killing innocent civilians, warning China and Brazil of facing the same fate. Amid this fog of contradictions, Trump's trade team appears deeply confused as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent slammed India's discounted oil trade with Moscow, only to pivot days later, calling for closer US-India ties. What Team Trump fails to grasp is that global trade isn't a switch to be flipped at will, and diplomacy isn't driven by ego. India has uniquely maintained dialogue with both Russia and Ukraine since 2022, a rare and vital bridge. But Washington's rhetoric now risks turning the peacemaker into a scapegoat. If President Trump truly wants to end the war and secure the Nobel Prize he so covets, it will require partners like New Delhi, not public vilification. The question now, is US foreign policy being shaped by strategic vision or by one man's need to dominate the headlines?
It seems it's one man's ego which is ensuring that an entire bilateral relationship gets compromised. At least that's what's happening right now. Viewers, if you got a chance to hear what Steve Witkoff said when he and several other Trump advisors met in the Oval House office, you will understand just how much the Trump advisors are actually looking to score points against each other in front of their boss. And all of them come back and talk about the Nobel Prize. Steve Witkoff even said that if there's anybody who should get a Nobel in the history of the Nobel Prize, it is Donald Trump. That's the context of this entire war against India. But what people don't realize, what Trump doesn't realize, is that he may or may not get the Nobel. He may or may not end the Russia-Ukraine war. But at this rate, he will most certainly do long-term, possibly permanent damage to the India-US relationship.